and his family had a history of violence, verbal and emotional abuse. He told me stories that shocked me, stories that I could not imagine. Fighting with irons that you iron with, kitchen chairs, threats with guns, all witnessed by children, including him. I didn't see that side of him for a long time, until one night before we were married. I was asleep in an apartment that I shared with some girlfriends, and I was awakened from a deep sleep by him grabbing my arms and butting my head against his head full force. I was in so much shock, but he was so apologetic. He offered no explanation, but he was apologetic. I thought it was the result of his difficult upbringing, and I was certain that it would never happen again. It did. You wouldn't have guessed what was happening if you knew me then. We presented in public as the nice, normal couple. We were happy, active in church, involved with our family and friends. We were helpful to those people that were around us in need, because we were the great pretenders. But at home, he was escalating. One night, I was trying to ignore his verbal attacks by pretending to be asleep. He proceeded to kick me in the back and the spine, violently, repeatedly, with both feet, until I was completely off the bed and onto the floor. He told me that he was in control of if, when, and where I would sleep. One of his go-to moves was physically restraining me. He would sit on my chest and pin my arms down with his legs and then attack my head, because the marks don't show on your head. Sometimes the violence was so bad that I had to go to the doctor, but I would go to different doctors because I didn't want anybody to catch on and ask me about my repeated injuries. Being the closest person to me, he was fully aware of my nature and my personality to want to please others and make life easier for others. I want to fix things. He exploited these personal feelings and used them against me to keep me quiet and to protect his abusive behavior. I covered for him, and he would use that as a tool against me. He would say, "No one will believe you if you tell them or if you try to leave me, because you have covered for me so well." And I believed him. One day, after being married about 13 years, my ex wanted me to make him some lunch. I heated up some soup and delivered it to him in the living room. He wasn't pleased with the meal, and he sent the soup bowl and the milk glass both flying at me. Hot soup went all over, the heavy soup bowl busted my thigh muscle, glass was everywhere. I was trying to clean it up when our almost 2-year-old came into the room. I continued cleaning it up, making up a story that Mommy dropped the soup bowl. I realized then that my son could not grow up in this. I could not continue to cry through the pain and through the tears and the lies. A few months later, there was another incident, and the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office came to our home. I don't even remember why they were called or who called them, because it was a traumatic night. The JSO told me that I should go to the Hubbard house, and they brought me there. Sitting with a Hubbard House advocate, it was the first time I ever told anybody about the violence. I don't think I would have been able to tell and speak to anyone that I personally knew at that time, because I was afraid I'd be a burden. But after I visited the Hubbard house, I was able to start opening up to my family and friends. I started to see that trying to protect those that we love at the expense of ourselves is not what any of those that we love want us to do. It's not what I wanted for myself, and it's not what I wanted for my son. So I made an escape. I wish I could say that leaving meant safety, but it was still a journey. He stalked me, showed up in public places where he knew I would be, and peeked into my home. We would do our custody exchanges at neutral places after we separated, but even that didn't hold him back. One time he jumped onto the hood of my car and tried to smash through the windshield to get to me, with my young son in the back seat. But I persevered. I found safety and I found freedom. I know now that my ex was a liar. He said that people wouldn't believe me. People wouldn't support me, and he lied. My abuser told me that no one would want me because I was so unattractive. No one would want me because I couldn't have biological children. And no one would want me because I have a biracial son that I adopted. He lied. I'm not a failure. I'm not responsible for fixing other people. He was mean and manipulative, and he was a liar. No matter what someone is whispering in your ear or screaming in your face, survivor, you can get out of a violent situation. You can be safe, financially stable, your kids can be safe, you can have a new life. There is hope. I now have a wonderful marriage. I have 3 kids, 4 grandkids, a rewarding job. I'm blessed to serve others through a local nonprofit that I started. I've been delivered out of a place of sadness and fear and no hope to a place of joy, strength, and hope. It's not just my story. For any survivor who's listening, it can be your story too.